course correct over time. But there is a system where none of your experiments would work either. That's our fourth and final system, the chaotic system. In September 1982, 7 people in Chicago died after taking Tylenol capsules laced with cyanide. Now, nobody knew how widespread the danger was. Nobody knew which bottles were safe. Nobody knew if there were more deaths coming. That is a chaotic system. Johnson & Johnson, the maker of Tylenol, didn't have time to analyze or ask experts or go through any checklist. None of that. All they could do was go into crisis mode. They warned the public. They pulled 31 million bottles of Tylenol off the shelves. Their strategy was stabilize first, ask later, understand later. So when you are in a chaotic system, the link between cause and effect is impossible to know. It's broken. Information is incomplete and it's always changing. The only move is to act first, stabilize first, and then when the ground finally stops moving, you can start asking what happened and why. And if you're trapped in one of these chaotic systems, the biggest mistake you can make is analysis paralysis. People want the full picture before they can act. All of us do. But chaos has no interest in teaching any of us. It's like an earthquake. The moment it hits, there is no pattern to respond to. All you can do is act as quickly as you can and create safety. So now we have the 4 systems and a thought process on how to behave if you're in one of them. First, clear system. Cause and effect are obvious. Follow the stable process. Checklists can help. No need to improvise. Second, complicated systems. Cause and effect exist, but they're sometimes hidden. What do? You slow down, take time to analyze, find the right expert. Complex systems. Here, the cause and effect are only understood in hindsight. So run a lot of tests, stay adaptable, course correct. And finally, number 4, chaotic systems. This is where the link between the cause and effect just completely breaks down. Act immediately, stabilize first, create safety, and then try to understand it. So those are the 4 systems and 4 protocols. But real life does not come with labels. Nobody walks into your door and says, "Congratulations, today we're going to deal with a complex problem. Yesterday was a complicated system." And that's why you need a diagnostic tool to figure out which system you're in the middle of. You need a framework. I call it DART. D is for deconstruct. Break the problem down into subparts. Are the parts stable or constantly shifting? Before you decide anything, you have to see what the system is made of. A is for analyze. This is the most important part because you're going to ask, what's the connection between cause and effect? Is it obvious? Then you're in a clear system. Is it discoverable through analysis? Then it would be a complicated system. Is it emergent and constantly changing and you can get to it only in hindsight? That could be a complex system. Or is it completely broken? That's a chaotic system. This single question tells you which system you're in, and once you know, you'll know what to do next. R is for recognize. Here you ask, have I seen this before? Even if you haven't seen the exact pattern before, have you seen something similar in any system? Recognizing patterns within the system and across systems is a great skill to have. And finally, T is for test. Run the smallest test you can before you can commit to a full response. And remember, in a chaotic system, there is no time to test. And once you know the nature of the beast, you know how to deal with it. But there is one most crucial aspect of systems thinking, and that's where we go next. Each system that you live inside is quietly training you to. That is the biggest feedback loop most people never see. The hard part is that from inside the system, you usually cannot see what direction is taking you. It's like sitting in a train compartment at a platform and you feel the train beside you beginning to move. And for a moment, you genuinely don't know if it's your train that's moving or theirs. Because from inside the train, the sensation is identical. But for someone standing on the platform, there is no confusion. So when you're inside the system, you have to figure out how to have the perspective of someone who's on the platform, metaphorically speaking. There are 3 ways to do it: mentors, data, and time. A mentor is someone on the platform who's outside of your world, who has no stake in your story. They can see your train from the platform. Second one is data. Numbers don't care about your narrative. Your biggest asset is data that shows you what the system is actually doing versus what you believe it's doing. That's how you get on the platform. And finally, time is the biggest truth teller. Always compare yourself with what you were doing a year ago, a month ago, a week ago. Mentors, data, time, any one of them can tell you if you're thinking about systems correctly, in which direction your train is moving. And this is the lesson that I learned the hard way. When I was a teenager, I used to tell myself that I wanted to serve millions of people. And that's why I ran away from home and trained to become a monk in an ashram. And only later, when I started getting honest feedback from others, that I realized I wasn't running toward a life of meaning. I was just running away from my father, from everything else that I was afraid of. I was a very shy young man in my early 20s who severely lacked any confidence and any communication skills. Of course, I got very lucky. I had great mentors, I had honest data, and I had friends who told me the truth. And I always wanted to be better than myself. And those were the only tools I needed for systems thinking. The conventional wisdom in business says that you have two options, and they are binary options. You can build a Ferrari or you can build a Toyota, a high margin luxury product or a high volume everyday product. Most of these binary choices are just limits of system design, not limits of reality. Take Apple. They make 350 iPhones every minute, not every hour, every minute. A luxury product at mass market scale. That shouldn't exist, but it does, because Steve Jobs and Tim Cook spent 20 years building a system that world had never seen before. They refused to make that binary choice. By the way, if you're thinking about improving every week, you can join our newsletter community. The newsletter delivers one insight, one tool, and one practice. Link in the description, and it's totally free. It's hard to be consistently better than others. It is not difficult to be consistently better than yourself. The hardest system to redesign is the one you build inside your own head. The story you've accepted about who you are, what you can become, what limits you put on yourself. That story is part of your system as well. And like any story and system, it can be reimagined completely. You can be both a Ferrari and a Toyota at the same time. The world will meet you at your level of audacity and hope.